Okay, here we are. Okay, great. So we're on record right now. We're all live. Welcome to everybody in the virtual audience from the 2019 Adobe Summit Conference. We're here live from Las Vegas. We have a group of all of the different virtual Marketo user groups from all over the world that are participating in this one. We're really happy to be able to connect with you and that you've chosen to connect with us during this conference. I'm going to pop in some slides and do some intros. Presentations, and then we'll get a chance to meet everybody on the panel. And then we're going to dive into some more information about the actual conference itself. And our goal on all of this is to be able to kind of educate everybody who couldn't make it to the conference about, what happened during that whole session, so that you have as much insight as we're able to provide to you within the hour that we have here. So really, just to get going here, so a couple of things about this. We're going to start with our initial group values that we always have at the beginning of all of my sessions. And really that's that this is a safe place to be able to learn. So we're going to have an open and honest discussion here. We're experiencing this for the first time. Some of the content that we're talking about here is less than an hour old. So, just bear with us, obviously, as we're kind of working through and talking about some of it too. And we fully expect that as we get home and we start kind of working through some of the learning lessons from Summit, there'll be more information that kind of comes out of this. It's a collaborative session. So all of us have been kind of working in our own respective user groups for a long time, and definitely are looking forward to being able to interact with each other. And it's not a sales environment. So, some of us are here for business. Some of us are here for education. A lot of us are here for a little bit of both. But the whole point of this session is to be an educational, informative group for you. It's a fun, enjoyable session. So we're going to have a lot of fun here. There'll be some laughs, but we're also going to keep it really professional. We're going to make sure that, you come out of here with all of the learnings that we're able to provide to you in this period of time, and that it's worth your time. So I want to put a quick insider disclaimer here. And the reason why I'm doing this one, and this specific one, is because, there's so many things happening with the Adobe Marketo acquisition that it's important to be able to say right away that we're not Marketo or Adobe employees. We just like to work in the platform a whole lot, and I'm sure you do as well too. But we don't have any inside information about the firms per se. We're hearing everything the same time that you are. And so it's important to be able to kind of understand that don't take anything that we're saying here as any sort of a basis to make any sort of financial analysis or anything like that. If you're looking at the stock ticker based on this, you're in the wrong session. And so the other thing is that really everything that we're providing here are our personal opinions. So again, we're not representatives of Adobe or Marketo. We're really just a bunch of enthusiasts just talking about what we're experiencing here and kind of what that means from our own personal perceptions. So one thing I want to talk about upcoming news and events, which is happening a little later on this month. So a couple of the regional Marketo user group leaders, in addition to the virtual ones, are getting together, and we do a MarTech book club once a quarter. Our next book is the 12 Powers of Marketing Leader. It's going to be on Friday, April the 26th at 12 p.m. Pacific time. If you're interested in that, you can go to martechbookclub.com and sign up. You don't have to be a Marketo user. You don't have to, do anything other than be interested in the book and marketing. And we'll log in. It'll be a lot like this session here. And so now we're going to start off with our feature presentation and really just start off with an introductory slide. These are all of the people that have been kind enough to take some time out of their travel schedules here at Marketo Summit to spend time talking to each of you. And so we're going to go around the room and do some introductions. And really, I'm going to just kick it off just to kind of address the format, everybody. And, the idea on this is tell us your name, tell us what you do for your company, and what Marketo user group that you're running, and then also the purpose of being at the conference, right? What are you trying to get out of that? So I'm Michael Tucker. I'm a marketing technology consultant. My company is The Conversion Store. And I attend Summit a lot of times because I'm trying to learn new things about how to use Marketo, especially with some of the enterprise instances that I'm in. It also, truth be told, is a place where I build relationships that do help with some of the existing and the future clients that I have too. So that's definitely a part of the networking, but overall, it's just a good time, and it's a great way to be able to talk about marketing technology because most of the people that I work with don't necessarily engage at the level that a lot of people here do. So it's really important from that side of things. So I'm going to turn off the slides for a second. We're going to go to video, and we'll pass it around the room. I want to kind of hand over to my co-moderator, Taylor Enfinger, and have you start off. I'm going to go on mute here now so that Taylor can talk without hearing a horrible background noise. And Taylor.
Awesome. Thanks, Michael. Hi, everyone. My name is Taylor Enfinger. I was the VMUG ambassador last year for the North American MUG. And now Karan's actually taking it over. So super excited to see where he takes it. I work with Annuitus and we implement demand gen strategies. And I'm a director with them and have been with them for about 4 years and implement Marketo as well as marketing strategies all the way through to reporting and analytics with using Tableau, Marketo, and Salesforce. Some things I'm hoping to get out of this summit. I'm actually speaking tomorrow, and I know Sydney is as well. So looking forward to tomorrow and meeting a lot of great people that are part of the marketing community. And also getting to connect with others. You know, I get to meet all these people who I consider my extended family every year and kind of have a big reunion, which is nice. And then also getting to know a lot of the vendors within the expo hall and getting to see what new tools are out that can really take marketing to the next level with their reporting and also, you know, getting to their audiences that they're trying to get to. So really excited about this year and seeing where Adobe takes it. And I'm gonna pass it off to Karan now.
Thanks, Taylor. Thanks a lot. So, hi everyone. My name is Karan, and I am the Manager of Marketing Operations at Wonderman MSc and Marketo Champion 2019. I also lead the newly formed India Virtual Marketo User Group. And just 2 weeks ago, we launched our first virtual event with very good engagement rate. And I'm super excited to be at the Marketo Summit. And a couple of things that I hope to gain from the summit is, first of all, see how Marketo is positioned with the merger of Adobe, and how Marketo is positioned in terms of how Adobe is going to be leveraging Marketo, and just attend all the great sessions that's happening in Adobe and see what are the new technologies and how Marketo is going to be leveraging those, or Adobe is going to be leveraging those in conjunction with Marketo. So I'm going to pass it off to Jeff. Hey, Jeff.
Hi there, Jeff Krajewski. I'm with AmeriCord Registry as their marketing automation manager. I've been in Marketo about 5 years now, and what I'm looking for out of Summit is really, again, to see how the partnership between Adobe and Marketo is going to develop, if we're getting any insights on the roadmap, as well as what Taylor said with the vendors, looking for tools, but also to see if there's any kind of tool that I currently have that I might want to disposition for something that might better fit the needs of my team. In addition to the networking, that really is one of the best parts of Summit, to come out and meet great like-minded folks and to network. And I will pass it off to Jackie.
Hello, I'm Jackie Potts. I work for strategic marketing with Lycor Biosciences, which is based in Nebraska. And I've been using Marketo since 2010, so a long-time Marketo user. And I'm just looking forward to all of the networking abilities, having the chance to talk to other MUG leaders and get some of their insight in person instead of virtually, and just learn some about how Adobe and Marketo are going to be working together. Now I'll pass it on to Kevin.
Hi, everyone. This is Kevin Weisenberger. I am the co-leader of the virtual healthcare group with Jeff, who previously introduced himself. I work for DaVita, a Fortune 150 healthcare company based out of Denver, Colorado. And I've been working with Marketo for about 5 years. And I'm really excited to be at Summit and to learn more about the healthcare innovations that Adobe is doing. The healthcare space is one that is continually evolving. And Adobe is making some big investments into that space, and we're really excited to see how they bring Marketo along into their future vision with that. So with that, I will go ahead and pass it off to Sydney.
Thanks, Kevin. Hi, my name is Sydney Mulligan. I'm the marketing technology consultant at Atumos. And I am at Adobe Summit, first of all, because it is my favorite annual work tradition to come see all of my Marketo friends. It feels a little bit like summer camp, although this year summer camp exploded and includes a whole bunch of strangers, so that's been really fun. The networking is super valuable. Obviously, I get to connect with a lot of my clients that I don't get to see very often, as well as some potential new clients. That's always fun. And learning new things that about the Marketo Adobe acquisition has been really interesting at this particular summit so far. Pass it back to Michael.
All right, great. Thanks everybody for coming here, and again for kind of sharing all your stories. We have a great cross section of people. Again, people who are working within client organizations, people who are working on the consulting side of things. So we're going to get a good mix of perspectives of what's happening during this conference. I think where we should start off, actually, to give a little bit of context on how the conference has changed. So in your typical Marketo conference, I think last year we were, I think somewhere between 7,000 and 8,000 people. And this year we're, I want to say about 17. That might be a tad high, but who's been to the to conference for several years now? Let me go to Jeff, actually.
Sure. So this is actually my third summit. I missed the last 2 years, but I was at one in 2015, 2016, and now this year again. It's really exciting to see how it's developed, grown each year, of course, just like any other conference, a Dreamforce or something like that. And especially this year, having 17,000 people at this particular event really makes it feel like a Dreamforce in scale. And I think it's only going to grow from here with the recent acquisitions that Adobe's made with Magento and with Marketo now.
Yeah, that's great foreshadowing. So we're going to get into a lot of the conversations. A lot of the keynote that we saw yesterday and of today has been about, Satya Nara. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. And basically bringing on some of the different partners, again with Magento, with Marketo, and then some of the other platforms that we're in. So this morning was Microsoft. Yesterday there's a whole series of different clients on the enterprise level to be able to talk about. So we'll definitely dive into that for sure. I think where we want to start off with, really to get going, especially with the crowd that we have here, is to kind of preface all of this by talking about what happened right before the conference started, which was the Rebbe Awards. And it's an annual award every year, that's a whole series of them. And I think we'd like to basically maybe talk to somebody who has been in a team that's previously won a Rebbe Award. There's a couple of people in this crowd that have. Taylor, I want to go to you actually, and maybe have you talk a little bit more about, what are the Rebbe's when you go to apply for a Rebbe? What's that process look like? And then having won in a previous year, what does that do for your organization and for you on your career path?
Yeah, so the process of applying for a Rebbe is picking a category that you feel like you could really be successful in. For Annuitas, we chose Partner of the Year, and I think that speaks to not only our partnership with Marketo that we've had over the years, but also partnerships that we have with our clients. Jeff is actually a previous client, multi-year, and we truly do partner with our clients, and kind of treat ourselves as an extension of their team. And we bring in Marketo whenever possible and make sure that we keep the relationship really tight with Marketo so that, if we ever have an issue or if a client's having an issue, we can quickly pull in Marketo to help with that instead of them saying, well, we can't hear from our rep or we're having issues, and so we're kind of their extension of their team that also has relationships deep with Marketo to make sure that we're closing loops on issues they're having, or just making sure everyone's in the know on product updates and new things coming out. So, it was really exciting. We actually had our content writer kind of brainstorm some with our executives to say, what have we done that's been, above and beyond to get Partner of the Year? And then, getting that was, I think that was the third year we'd applied for it. So, super excited to actually win the Rebbe last year. And, I think it speaks to our continued partnership, not only with our clients, but also with Marketo. And so it just continued that those relationships that we've already had in place today, and which, helped our clients see us as an extension of their team as well. So super excited about it. And we still brag about it all the time. So
That's awesome. So that's great. That gives us some insight actually from the client, from the consultancy side. And then so I didn't realize that the two of you had worked together, Jeff. And I'm not sure if it's the same Revy that was one. Okay, so it's different ones. So can you tell me a little bit about what company you were with when you guys won, and sort of what that was all about, and sort of as a being inside of an organization as a client on the client side. Yeah, what was that like for you guys, being able to go up there and win?
If I can unmute. So at the time that we won the Revy, I was with PR Newswire, and we had a marketing team. I'd say it was about 30 to 35 people dispersed in different applications within marketing, everywhere from events to content to operations, which I was in, and analytics and so forth. With that, one of the things that Taylor's team helped us to set up and structure was the platform in a manner that, with our efforts and the content in the promotion and so forth, we were able to win the Revy for the Marketo Masters Enterprise Marketing Team of the Year in 2016. That was actually the same year that my CMO, Ken Winko, was asked to give a keynote on the last day of Summit, which was really neat to see. It was very inspiring. Again, it's the type of thing that helps to grow your career in a private sector or public sector. It's being part of a team that's recognized, and knowing that it wasn't all just you, that it was a combined effort, and that you really all did achieve great feats in what you did, is an achievement. One of the things, though, that I will mention is, as Taylor did, the application process. You really need to make sure you think it through. What have you done to go above and beyond? What have you really lent that is out there or cutting edge? This year, my team actually applied for the Transformer. We were not recognized this year, but we're not going to stop applying. There's every year, there's different categories that are coming up. They don't stay the same all the time. They do change occasionally from year to year. So there are a few staples that will remain, like Champion of the Year, so Marketing of the Year, Executive of the Year, and so forth. But there are always those other adaptive Rebbe Awards that you might want to peek your eyes on and see if it might be a fit for an application for your team.
That's really interesting. I thought it was kind of interesting in the sense that I'd applied for a Revy this year as well too, for Marketo User Group Leader of the Year, and didn't make the finals for it. But looking back on it and then seeing the actual people that were finalists, it really humbled you to kind of realize these Revies are no joke. They're not for the faint of heart. And if you win a Revy, it really means a lot, because they have a lot of different applications, and they have to be very critical about who actually makes it to the finals, who winds up winning. So to be able to win, to get that, and have two different people sit at a table with me who have been in those winning, that means a lot. So it's a good experience altogether, and I think it's something to be able to help shoot for as you kind of go through as well too, and especially with other people who've been here as well too. So just show of hands, who else has won a Revy then at this at this table? Okay. Okay, and so let me talk then a little bit too, because Jeff, you talked a little bit about your CMO doing a keynote session then during the session, and we just walked out of a keynote session that just ended with Reese Witherspoon and all these wonderful celebrities that are here, and I'd love for somebody to be able to talk maybe about the comparison between the speaking sessions that are happening at Adobe Summit and then at previous Marketo Summits. And I think, Sydney, I kind of want to go to you, because I think you've traveled and spoken in person to probably more people than most of the marketing nation as a whole. So I think you might have some interesting insight on that as a whole, and just in terms of what the crowd is like, just in terms of volume, but then also in terms of some of the content that you're seeing in some of these keynotes, and how that compares with years past.
Yeah, it's definitely, Adobe Summit is a different ballgame than Marketo Summit has been in years past, certainly. It feels like a much larger conference by a much larger company, because it is. There are at least 10,000 more people here than there have been at at any of the previous Marketo Summits, which is awesome. Adobe has also definitely attracted some pretty big names for keynotes, which has been fun. It's fun to hear from people like Reese Witherspoon and Drew Brees. It's very, very exciting. I always think that the most valuable parts of a conference like this are in the actual sessions, the breakout sessions, rather than the keynotes themselves. Keynotes are definitely fun. It's fun to see a big name on stage like that and try to relate that back to what we're doing in our day-to-day lives, but the real meat and potatoes of the conference is always in the breakout sessions. So I've been really impressed with the breakout sessions we've seen so far. I think that tomorrow for Marketing Nation Day will probably be some of the more technical and some of the sessions that we all kind of know and love from Marketo Summits of the past. The like champion sessions and the Marketo at Marketo sessions, I know those are always the ones that I've enjoyed attending, and I've always recommended to other people to prioritize over many of the other sessions, and I think that's most of what's happening tomorrow, so I'm excited about that. But it has definitely been interesting to see the kind of demographic of people that have been coming for Adobe Summit versus those that have come for Marketo Summit. It seems like there's a lot more high-level executive type folks here, which is really great, honestly. I think it's awesome to have that kind of exposure to what marketing ops is actually doing and to the C-suite and above.
Nice. Yeah. I think, one of the things that I noticed with that, and especially in the sessions, I think today, the keynote session, and a little bit of yesterday too, is there's a whole different cadre of creative professionals that we're seeing as well that are there. So there's things like that Adobe Experience Cloud covers that really weren't in the Marketo ecosystem before, like programmatic advertising and television, and we all, I think, use Marketo and platforms to be able to help with omni-channel environments. But the sheer span of the ecosystem now with some of the acquisitions over the past year have made that a lot broader. And, Kevin, on your side of things, you've been to a lot of other different industry conferences from a lot of other different types of providers. Do you see that in those other types of conferences as well too? What's been your experience? This is your first summit, right? So give me your first impressions based on all of the experiences that you've had at other conferences.
Yeah, I think this is a huge plus for Marketo. I think that they have an opportunity to really up their game with integrations across the ecosystem with a lot of other partners. I've had a few conversations with some of the Adobe folks while I'm out here, and the one thing that I've heard again and again is how excited Adobe is to invest with Marketo and improve upon that platform and really integrate them into the fold of everything that Adobe has to offer. From additional encryption standards to additional uptime on their servers. I think that there is a lot of upside to Marketo joining the Adobe community. And part of that is seen here at the conference and just how they're able to step up and kind of play in the big leagues with Salesforce and some of the other competitors that they have. I think that they have a great chance now of starting to compete head-to-head with them on a different level. So that's been really exciting here.
Nice. Karen, can I go to you about the, we're talking about the exhibition and some of the different partners, and, your group is a division of a much larger group who I think has a pretty big stake in the exhibition floor and in the Adobe ecosystem itself. So, what can you give a little bit of context first of all to, what it's like to be to be kind of in the LaunchPoint partner ecosystem, like what that relationship is at a high level, and then sort of how that, I don't know how that differs from an Adobe to a relationship with Marketo, but what is that like on the exhibition floor for you guys then?
Yeah, that's a great question. Thanks, Michael. So I think my perspective is, right now, the LaunchPoint is a great, platform for Marketo partners and to get various technological integrations and stuff. But with Adobe coming into picture, there's going to be a huge opportunity to combine Marketo with several other technologies. Like, yesterday it was mentioned in the keynote, like, it's market, like Adobe itself, they acknowledge that Marketo has been the leader in B2B marketing automation, and with the merger of Adobe and Marketo, it's not just B2B or B2C, it's B2E. That's business to everyone. So that's got to be an amazing, time to be doing marketing automation, especially with Marketo. And I think it holds a huge and bright future. In fact, back in India last month, I had attended an Adobe Experience Summit in New Delhi. And I posed this question in one of the sessions that, how does Adobe campaign, it was a session on Adobe campaign, and, how do they track or, add score leads or, add leads to engagement programs or further nurtures. And their answer was that, we plan to leverage Marketo to do that. So I think the acquisition and the merger holds a great future, and it's a great time altogether.
That's interesting. So I think one of the topics that came up on Monday was, the acquisition immediately before Marketo was an open e-commerce platform called Magento, which I'm sure to a lot of people who are in that space, yeah, of course, Magento, it's a household name when it comes to e-commerce. One of the things that I heard on the, on the platform, on the keynote yesterday was really that, Magento has its own ecosystem of different service partners or application partners as well too. And part of the acquisition of both platforms is that those partners will have the ability to kind of to scale out into the Adobe ecosystem as well too. A lot of changes there. I think one of the big ones that we heard about yesterday too is that, from a Marketo, from a branding perspective, to be able to help align with the overall Adobe ecosystem, there's some new branding that's coming out. And I'm going to dig up a screen share image to show in a moment. My understanding is that it's called Marketo Engage, and this is just brand new to us, right? So there might be some nuances about that branding and how that positioning works that we're just not aware of in this room right now. But kind of a neat thing to say, I think, going forward. My understanding is that it's not Marketo, it's Marketo Engage now, which will be kind of the vernacular to use. Jackie, I kind of want to go to you because I know you've been a user for a long time, and just to kind of get some of your perceptions as being a user inside of the instance. What are your first impressions about that, and what are you hopeful of in terms of what's kept within Marketo, where Marketo will grow as a result of all of this as an end user?
Yeah, I think there's going to be probably a lot of changes coming up with Marketo Engage and it being brought into the Adobe section. I think, we are hopeful for a lot of changes coming to potentially email and landing page creation and bringing those Adobe products into there. And although we haven't heard any announcements, I'm hoping that maybe tomorrow we'll get some more insight on what's going to be changing there and how we'll continue to be able to do the B2B marketing, but also grow it to the B2E marketing and really expand the capabilities of what we're doing with all of the offerings that Adobe has.
Yeah, I really find it interesting too when they talk about like some of the different things that are possible basically with the integrated ecosystem that we're going to have here. I saw a session this morning from some of the Visible folks talking about being able to use Adobe Sensei and machine learning to be able to gather kind of predictive insights on people before they become known in actual lifecycle marketing. And so I don't know exactly what that means or exactly how that's going to materialize, but I do see a ton of opportunities that as a marketer you'd be able to use that those sort of insights to be able to do all sorts of different campaigns that you might not be able to do at this point in time. I feel like that's a good segue to be able to bring in somebody who, a couple of people here who have been on many different instances, especially from the consulting side. I mean, Sydney, you're somebody that I actually think of as a thought leader in a lot of these things. I kind of creep your content a lot and kind of try to learn different things from what you and Atumos and Edward are able to kind of provide. So, as you kind of see that with all of the instances that you have under your belt historically, right? What's one thing that you heard in some of these keynotes about, potential feature sets where it was kind of a mouth-watering moment where it's like, oh, we can get information before a lead converts to a known lead, for example, converts to known or something like that. What do you see come out of some of these Adobe products that might be low-hanging fruit to be able to recommend to some of your clients?
Yeah, I'm definitely interested to see how Adobe is planning to roll their existing product suite into Marketo and what that integration will look like. I'm hesitant to see anything as mouthwatering at this point because I know it's just so early to tell what that will ultimately look like, and I know it can be kind of a ways down the roadmap. But I'm definitely excited to have kind of the power of the Adobe brand and the investment and excitement that Adobe clearly has into the Marketo platform itself. I think that's something that we've been missing for the last few years with Vista. If I can state my own personal opinion, there's certainly a focus on investing in add-on products and upsell products. I'm excited to see Adobe really taking an interest in bringing their own really powerful, robust capabilities into the Marketo core architecture, as well as investing in much needed updates into the core framework itself.
So what, that's an interesting point, right? Like there's, there's the base Marketo platform. There's the whole LaunchPoint ecosystem that supports that platform. Adobe has that as well too with their own, but they also have all of these other different products that are involved in it. Adobe Sensei, Targets, Campaign, a whole slew of different platforms that we're all just getting to know in this room, really, for the most part. I think we were at a learning session where the question came up, how many people use Adobe, and it was a Marketo focused session. One person put their hand up, and the rest of the room were Marketo people. So there's a little bit of a divide there, but I think that's going to start to emerge, and you're going to start to see kind of a conglomeration of different sort of technologies happen there. Karen, what do you think the long run is going to be for Marketo inside of the Adobe ecosystem? Do you think it's going to kind of maintain, be a separate platform, or do you think that it will sort of fold into the ecosystem? What do you think that's going to look like maybe next year or in years to come?
Thank you. So I think, and this is again my own opinion. So going forward, I think the fact that Adobe Campaign, Marketo, so both have got their own email editors. So going down the lane, they might not require two separate email editors. And similarly, there are, like I said, there are a lot more features that Marketo itself has evolved over the time, like launch of RTP, ABM, etc., that was not available way back in the time when Marketo initially started. So I think Adobe and Marketo merger, again, my opinion is, there might be certain common areas that could be merged, but Marketo as a brand, I think it would still stand. And, for the most part, engaging with B2B and, engaging or targeting the accounts per se, that's going to be remaining, still going to remain a strong area where Marketo would be the leader.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I thought, one thing that I saw really interesting about, I think a point that Satya had made yesterday, when they were talking specifically about where Marketo fits in the whole ecosystem. They had this great way of being able to take sample companies, actually, I think they're actual companies that they work with in Adobe, and kind of say, okay, here's how these companies are going to benefit by the addition of Marketo or Magento, which is now going to be Adobe Commerce Cloud. And the one that was in Marketo's case was Booking.com. It's really interesting to me. I used to work in the vacation rental industry in sales management for a .com. And so their case on that was, Booking traditionally does all of these different reservations for hotel properties and vacation properties, but then there's also a business-to-business component of being able to sign new properties into the system and to market to prospective hotel owners and hospitality venues to be able to join the Booking ecosystem. And that both of those scenarios, consumer purchases and and then also the purchase of new properties, or the acquisition of new properties into that instance, would be handled by both Marketo and different types of Adobe platforms. So I thought that was really interesting. In manufacturing, we see a lot of that as well too, with trying to sell through value-added resellers, and then trying to be able to induce interest to end consumers for some of our products. Jeff, where do you see that from a healthcare perspective? Do you see that there's opportunities, and maybe Kevin, you could chime in on that as well. But are there opportunities there then from a healthcare side of things to be able to engage patients in hospitals? Or I don't know the healthcare space as well as the two of you, obviously. So could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I can speak from my company's perspective at AmeriCord. We target on a B2C level. However, our product, while it's focused at the family that has the pregnancy, we also need to target and educate the OBGYNs so that they are familiar with our product offering. They know the benefits and advancements that our team is making in the field. But to go beyond that, there's always going to be, I think, both components from any kind of consumer product or leveraging that type of area to say, you don't just want to educate the end consumer. Everyone is an end consumer no matter what. Everyone buys product. They might just not need that particular product, but to get them to know about it or to get the word out there from a brand awareness perspective, I think it's always huge.
Mm-hmm. That's great. So let's talk a little bit about kind of what's coming down the pipeline here from a Marketo standpoint in terms of kind of engaging the audience. So I know there's a roadshow that's been talked about here that they're planning for a little later on into the year. I think one of the things we saw some really interesting, especially with the Marketo User Group, the expansion of the Marketo User Groups and kind of the role that all of these wonderful Marketo enthusiasts are really helping to build communities in all sorts of different cities across the U.S. and really in different parts of the world. The winner of this year's Marketo User Group, Rebbe, was actually the Japan User Group. So they have just a huge audience that's out there, and it really speaks to kind of the global interest in being able to kind of connect with fellow Marketo users at a local level. And so, Karen, can you tell us a little bit about, you and I, our first conversation when you started the India virtual mug, right? I've never been to India, and I don't know a lot about the user base out there and how broad that is and sort of what their needs are. And I think you've traveled in both countries to a fair amount to be able to kind of compare the two. So, tell me about India. Tell me what, how mature is the marketing automation industry there? And how does that differ from what we have here in North America?
Yeah, so I think India has got a very huge base of run and operate model, how they work on Marketo. So they've got a lot of agencies, and you've got a lot of customers as well who use Marketo. So the concept of setting up a user group in India had been going on for a while, but this had been a great start to the year, and but the problem with India in India was that users are spread across a wide geography, so it wasn't technically feasible for us to set up an in-person user group to begin with. So that's when the idea of setting up a virtual group, along with my co-leader Rachit, and we had a call initially with Jackie and Sydney as well. So the recommendation was amazing, and the first virtual event, like I said, it was a huge success. We had about 120 registrants with about 99 to 100 about in attendance, and it was a great success. And as a VMUG ambassador, I think even in the roadmap of expansion of Marketo user groups across the world, I think virtual groups would play a key role because, in geographies where the feasibility is in question in terms of attending an in-person mug, or a lot of people who are curious as to, what it could be to attend an in-person mug, I think virtual is a great start. And it also gives the opportunity for, topic gurus or, people who actually excel in topics, who perhaps cannot travel, but on a virtual session they can deliver the same great experience, and a lot of us can benefit from it. So I think that's a great start that's happened in the India virtual user group.
Yeah, I'm really glad that you're here, and honestly, I think that it adds a whole different dimension. The sun never sets on the internet. But to have somebody in the other hemisphere of Earth, basically, right? You can be developing Marketo content at all hours of the day this way, right? That supports the user group base. And what I develop in my user group, is something that the regional user group leaders can use, that you can use in India. And it really goes to speak, in November of 2017, when I really, my user group had existed before I was there, but it was really dormant in a lot of ways. And so to see kind of a revival of the user groups, of the virtual user groups come in and kind of this year, we really got a chance to see the regional user groups, the virtual user groups sort of come together in a room. We had our own meeting and kind of said, okay, where can we align? How can we help each other? And more importantly, how can we help you as Marketo users to be able to kind of grow the platform? And so excited to kind of see what's happening in North America too, because there's a North America user group now as well too. And so maybe if I can go to Jackie and then Sydney to kind of talk a little bit about, what you guys are planning and sort of where you've been and what's on the roadmap for you guys for 2019, 2020.
I think that, we're just looking forward to bringing more people able to attend user groups, whether it's because they are somewhere remotely where they can't get to a meeting, or if it's, where they can't attend their own regional MUG, and even, co-working with the regional MUGs and being able to have, them having their events, but then also their users could also watch our online if they want to get information on various topics. And I think we really have the ability to bring in a lot of speakers because they don't have that need to travel. So it opens the door for us to kind of bring in anybody and, talk about the important topics at hand. So, that's kind of where we're going for now.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree with that. I think that one of the kind of cool things about having such a broad user group of being all of North America, and I'm sure that our topic-focused MUG leaders feel the same way, so that we can really kind of partner with the regional MUG leaders, just like Jackie was saying. It's definitely not an either or. You can absolutely be part of a regional user group and have that awesome in-person networking experience, but a virtual user group can be an awesome place to connect with other people that you wouldn't have been able to connect with otherwise. The kind of impetus behind the North America virtual MUG is for those pockets of the US and of other parts of North America that don't have quite enough of a user base for an in-person MUG. You'll still have a resource available, but we absolutely welcome anyone across all of North America. Open invitation to the North America virtual MUG. Yeah, I would love to have so many people in our MUG meetings that Marketo has to start paying for a webinar provider for us. Let's break the Zoom room. That's my personal vision for the North America virtual MUG.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think to that point, right? There's there's a lot of people that are on this session learning about Summit, and while you're here, I think if anything, we really want you to take away from this that the community is there for you, even if you're not near a major hub at all. So we are trying to, as interested user group leaders, in the platform and in learning ourselves, it helps us to be able to engage with people like yourselves that are coming in to visit. The very fact that all of you have logged into this session shows that you're interested. And so we're we welcome you with open arms. And then I think, to say, okay, the next question is okay, well, why should you invest your time in a user group? And, maybe I can punt it over to Kevin for a second to just kind of say, what's the value proposition for a user group from your perspective? And especially focusing on kind of the healthcare vertical, how are you approaching that topic to be able to kind of get layers of insights for that industry? Are you bringing in like industry groups with that, or are you focusing on kind of other healthcare organizations that are using Marketo? What are your thoughts kind of going forward for you guys, and then overall, just how does that relate to the Marketo user group experience as a new user?
Yeah, I think for those of you who have not attended a user group, I highly recommend that you seek one out, as Sydney recommended. If you don't have one near a major metropolitan area, go ahead and join a virtual one. We're all virtual leaders here, and the great thing about that is just how strong Marketo's community is. And if you go on and you look at the forums, you look at how fast questions are answered, the thought process that people go through to actually try to assist and solve people's issues, really look at that as amplifying it with the user groups. We're all here to support each other, make sure that we're successful in growing each other's businesses, our practices, whatever it is. But not only that, we're here as thought leaders, something to try to resonate and bounce ideas off of. For me and Jeff in the healthcare space, this is something that is very, very important to us, as we live in a very dynamic space that is constantly changing with the various administrations in office and the rules that are coming across that they mandate for our section. So we love to sit down, talk about all the different regulations, how that affects the healthcare industry and other industries. We pull in experts as often as possible, and we just welcome an open dialogue, really. None of us are the absolute thought leaders here. We're just open and trying to have a conversation and make sure that we all can benefit from it. So highly recommend that if you aren't joining them, join them now and take advantage of that.
That's great. Yeah, thanks. You know, I think one of the things that I'm doing in the manufacturing space is we had this great session last December that I want to bring up as a point of interest, and also to thank the panelists for that. We had a Marketo manufacturing panel. It was a year in review. We had Ryan Worden from Sealed Air, Carissa Russell from Current by GE, Jennifer Morris by Lennox International, and all three of them shared really interesting perspectives on each of their Marketo instances are at different points, right? Some of them are larger than others, but all of them have really interesting ways that they're using the platform to be able to build value within their organizations. And, you know, it's that sort of dialogue. It's the dialogue that we're having right now with all of these user group leaders that are attending this session, and kind of what that's all about. That we really think is kind of the differentiator going forward is one of us is not smarter than all of us. We say it a lot of times, but it definitely, you know, brings in that humility so that if, what was the saying that was they were saying today is we want to be not know-it-alls, but learn-it-alls. And that was what the CEO at Microsoft had said in the keynote this morning. And I really think that that's true of what we're talking about here in our sessions. So as you're coming to these things, please, you know, don't feel intimidated and feel welcome to be able to come. Because we're all learning in different ways. It doesn't matter if you've been in the platform for 8 years or you've been in the platform for 1 or less than 1. There's something that you can teach. There's something that you can learn in the process. So we're grateful to have that. Taylor, can I punt it over to you for a second just to check on the chat room and see, you know, if there's any questions on that, and then if there's not, you know, if you could tell us a little bit, you know, from the last year as a VMUG ambassador, you know, just sort of what trends you've seen and sort of your interaction with Marketo corporately from a marketing standpoint. You know, what's their interest basically? What you know, when you talk to them over the past year, you know, what's the overall sense when they said, "Hey, Taylor, you're the virtual mug ambassador for 2018. You know, what we'd love it if you would do X." And maybe Karen, afterwards, you can kind of punt in and say how that's changed it for this year too.
Yeah, so you know, honestly, it was kind of left up to me where to take it. I don't really think I had a whole lot of direction as far as, you know, where they wanted me to go with it. It was kind of like, you know, I had a few calls starting up with Megana, and, you know, we would chat about where we wanted to go. And she's like, you know, where do you want it to go? And I kind of had this big idea that, you know, eventually we would get to a place where we had a North American VMUG. And again, you know, Sydney called this out earlier, but making sure that, you know, this isn't taking away from the regional mugs and from the in-person mugs, but really adding value to people that maybe you're not able to get over to your regional mug, or maybe you want to attend another mug with different people. And, you know, just kind of adding an additional layer of meeting other peers in your industry. And, you know, I would love for, and Karen's going to take it here. I know he will. But, you know, he's going to lead it. And we've chatted a couple of times about, you know, eventually having VMUGs that are going to be, you know, North American VMUG, ANZ VMUGs, India VMUGs, you know, and kind of having like a larger region. And then to have, you know, exactly what Jackie and Sydney have been doing over the last, you know, 6 months, which is, you know, growing that base and making sure that, you know, everyone knows about mugs, and if they're not, you know, able, even if you can't attend one regionally, that you're able to be part of the community and have those talk tracks with everyone. So, yeah, it kind of just evolved with several brainstorming sessions with Megana, moving forward and starting this new ambassador program. So I think it's been a great opportunity for more people to connect. I know, I was not a MUG leader previously. So this was just, I was actually traveling for the year and all over the world. And so it was an opportunity for me to still stay connected while bringing others together. So I loved that because I knew I was going to be completely remote. So I wanted the opportunity to still meet with my peers. But yeah, does that kind of answer your question there, Michael? And where you're?
Yeah, it really does. It really does, and it's been my experience as well too. Is that Marketo is not a top heavy when it comes to the user groups. They give us a lot of latitude to be able to kind of engage directly with you, and they truly have kind of this caring mentality about the community and to kind of what's needed to foster that the best. And so they've been very, I mean, my experience in the year and a half or so that I've been doing this is they've been, very generous, and we're really grateful to have all the support. We see it in, there's a lot of events that we participate in that that are unique to user group leaders, like the Advocates Party and the MUG Party, and there are ways for us to be able to learn from each other, just like all of you learn as by attending a MUG and by getting involved in the online boards and in the community as well. So, Karen, we talked about the past year. What's the next year look like? What's in store? What's the grand plan from kind of the way you see it now?
I'm gonna do a quick time check really quick as well. So we've got about 5 minutes left. So after Karen, maybe we can, open up the floor for some discussion.
That's a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So, like Taylor mentioned, we had a chat, and it was great to have a direction of, what's happened and where to take it further from there. And even yesterday in our meeting, I was having a discussion with Grace, who is the APAC ambassador for MUGs. And, we had a discussion about the challenges of having the new group. And eventually we were discussing that, it will be best to set up a virtual group also initially, so that, it can supplement the engagement of the in-person MUGs. So I think like me and Taylor discussed initially, setting up a virtual group for regional based virtual groups that can actually help in promoting the engagements for in-person MUGs is really the goal for this year, and do whatever it takes in terms of launching surveys, get to know what the audience want to actually hear, and coordinating internally to bring in subject matter experts so that they can actually benefit from that even from a remote location, which otherwise wouldn't have been possible. So that's really the goal, to get the engagement on a completely different league and a level out there this year, and see where it goes from there.
That's very cool. I've seen some things actually before the ambassador program kind of got going. I've been asked to talk with people in other disparate groups, so regions of the world. So I think the one that comes to the top of mind was in Scandinavia. There's a presence there, and there's an interest in doing that too. And so those are great opportunities as well to grow that out. Okay, so Taylor, thank you for keeping me on top of time. I'm terrible with time, by the way, just so everybody knows. I want to talk to all these people forever and ever, but time is money. So Taylor, what have you seen in the chat rooms, or let's open up a little dialogue here.
Yeah, so we actually have not had anyone have any comments so far. So if anyone has anything, feel free to throw it in there, or go off a mute and open it up.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and I think I'd like to add that, since the main Marketo Day is going to be tomorrow, I think we are going to have a lot of inputs tomorrow as well that we're going to be capturing, and all the respective MUG leaders, maybe, what we were planning was we can host another meeting down the lane somewhere in the near future, where we can give you a complete detailed breakdown as to what is in store, that's going to be announced tomorrow, and have another meeting that the respective MUG leaders can plan in their respective regions. So just a shout out to everybody to look out for a follow-up session that's going to be announced soon.
Just one other thing to mention is all of the keynotes here at Summit are broadcast live on the Adobe site. So the session tomorrow for the Marketing Nation keynote is at 9:30 Pacific.
Nice. Okay, so we're kind of out of time. I'm going to push it just a little bit, and one quick thing: if any of you have questions, I know I kind of always am the guy asking questions and things like that. But if anybody wants to throw one out, and then barring that, then let's go around the room and then have everybody kind of talk about about what their next mug meeting is, or they're planning on working on. And then really what your highlights were really for the conference that you've seen up to date here. And so something that you're, kind of really excited to kind of run home and tell it, or run back to your office and tell everybody about. So any questions, first off, that anybody else has that we should float out in this conversation? All right, let's go around the room and kind of float it out. Sydney, you want to start off?
So our next North America Virtual Mug meeting is tentatively scheduled for April 16th, time TBD. We will be focusing on a post-summit recap, just as Karin was mentioning, and answering any questions from people that were both able to attend Summit or not able to attend Summit. So far, my biggest takeaway has just been it's been very interesting to see how Adobe is absorbing Marketo and what that is looking like, but very exciting, and excited to see what Marketing Nation Day holds for us tomorrow.
For the healthcare user group, we do not have a date nailed down as of right now. We're going to get something on the books by the end of April. And our goal will be here very similar to Sydney, talking about Summit recap, any of the additional announcements that will be made, as well as talking a little bit more about the Adobe ecosystem. I think that there are some big healthcare players out there, Optum, United Healthcare, to name a few, have invested in the Adobe system. So I think it's good to know what other big players in healthcare are using Adobe and what could be in store for Marketo with some possible investments and advancements that they're making. So it'll be more of an open discussion, a collaborative one, looking at what the future could hold. And we invite all to attend, whether they're in healthcare or other. Jackie?
So Sydney kind of already filled you in on our next date, but I think my biggest takeaway so far has been I think just interacting with everybody in person. There's been a lot of great sessions too, but the interactions have been very good.
Just one thing to add to what Kevin said in the healthcare space is I'd love to open this up to even Adobe partners and Adobe clients so that we can get the conversation started on where the roadmap's going, how we can help each other.
Thank you. And for the India user group, again, the date is not set right, but it's somewhere going to be in the last week of April or the first week of May. And prior to that, we have also planned to launch a survey of any specific topic that you want to hear. So it's going to be a two-part session where the first part, we are going to be breaking down the summit and basically discussing what's going to be announced tomorrow and what's the key takeaways from the summit. And the second part of the session is going to be a specific or a lucrative topic that all of you have been waiting to hear. So we'll plan that accordingly, and it's really open to any virtual group or anyone who wants to attend. So yeah, that's about it from my side.
Sure, yeah. So I am currently not leading a user group, as I mentioned earlier, but I will soon be joining Jenny Robertson, also with Annuitas, to help lead the Atlanta user group. So more to come. We're still planning a date right now. I know she has lots of sponsors and partners lined up to get that up and going. So very excited to be joining the Atlanta user group to co-lead.
Very cool. Okay. Well, from my perspective, we're going to have a busy next month, actually, just to kind of speak that these user group positions are really sort of, volunteer positions, right? So I have quite a busy schedule in the next month. One of the things that we're doing in the community side of things is this MarTech book club that really came, the idea was introduced to me by Jessica Cow, who is the Rebbe Marketo User Group Leader of the Year last year, Champion of the Year last year. And Christina Zuniga and Brooke Bartos and Helen Abramova. And we get together and we're going to be discussing this 12 powers of a marketing leader at the end of next month. We also actually were really kind of the authors of that book are going to join us for a session as well too. So we're going to do kind of 2 sessions really in April on that. On the manufacturing user group space, talking to the people in the manufacturing Marketo panel from December, and I think we're going to reunite and join forces again probably in May, and we usually do the second to last Thursday of the month, and we'll kind of pick up that conversation. We'll have a lot more information to digest from the Adobe Summit, but in the meantime, to Karen's point, all the sessions that are really Marketo focused. There's a huge they've been happening throughout the conference, but there's a large group of them that are happening tomorrow. So highly recommend that you get a chance to tune into the live cast on that, and all of the regional mugs, and there'll be a lot of sessions to be able to digest some of those if you weren't able to make it. So we are glad that you're able to make it for today. We really want to thank you for coming out, and we're going to just kind of share one quick slide to kind of again thank you for all of that, and we're going to get back to our next sessions. We have a whole series of different working sessions and meetings to go to now in each of our different spots. But again, thanks to all of my fellow panelists here for joining in on this. And we hope to see you at a virtual or a regional Marketo user group in the very short future. Thanks for coming out, guys. Bye now.